Are you looking for a space where you will learn to improve your mental strength, emotional health, and heal your insecurities from the inside out? Take the first step to living a more meaningful life with the Better Me with Body by Bree podcast. I'm your host, Bree. I'm a certified personal trainer, entrepreneur, and mother of 3. I've helped empower thousands of women to take action through fitness, nutrition, meditation, personal development, and aligning thoughts with action. This podcast is for those who are ready to feel inspired and motivated to live a more purposeful life. Let's grow together. Today in the podcast, I have Betsy and Gentry Mikesell, who have gone through an incredibly challenging trial this past year. Surviving a plane accident, Betsy and Gentry walk us through how they overcame their hardest trial in the face of adversity and the blessings that came from being stretched to their limit. They help to shed light on how their perspective on life completely changed and what valuable life lessons they learned along the way. Betsy and Gentry have 3 beautiful children, and Betsy owns a company called Beddy's that was ranked number 9 as one of the fastest growing private companies in Utah. Not only is she a boss, but Betsy is kind and humble and one of the most uplifting people I know. I cannot wait for you to hear their story. Welcome to the podcast, Betsy and Gentry. I'm so excited you're here. How are you?
Thanks so much. Yeah, thank you so much for having us. We're excited to be on.
Well, I've been following you for so many years that I'm like fangirling because I love both of you so much. And I feel like we're best friends, but we've never met. So I'm excited for other people to get to know you better.
Hey, I feel like that's the best part about Instagram. I've literally met my best friends through Instagram. And I feel like I know you. I talk about you to like my family.
I love it so much. If you guys don't follow Betsy already, she's the most bubbly, charismatic, uplifting, positive person that you will ever follow. And she just makes you happier. She just like brightens your day. So
I don't know about that. I do have my mental breakdowns every now and again. I try to keep those off of Instagram.
Oh yeah, I know. Well, everybody does. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. I know you and Gentry, and I'm just so grateful Gentry's here too to share your story. You guys have such an amazing story and it's so inspiring, and I've been following it from the very beginning, and I just thought you can help so many people with your story and kind of your perspective and how you overcame trials, or maybe you're still going through it. And I want to be able to kind of dive deeper into that and to help people learn some of your lessons, because some of us might not go through something as, tragic as you have. So I would love for you to share. If you guys don't know, Betsy and her husband were in a plane crash. Was it a year ago?
No, 7 months ago. It's last August
ago. Yeah. So I would love if you could share the story of the plane crash.
Yeah. So it started, we were just going for the day to Roosevelt, which was like 3 hours away. And we were visiting our friends. And while we were there, we brought our twin boys and we were going to go boating. And before we went boating, Shad, who was the pilot, said, "Hey, it's perfect weather out here. I want to take you guys for a flight, just a quick little flight over the Uintas. You guys are going to love it. It's the perfect weather. There won't be any turbulence. It's going to be so much fun." And both of us, you have to know, are like terrified of anything. Like we don't even go on hikes because it's
no.
Yes. No. Yeah. So we like to stay close to the ground. But I mean, we didn't even travel till really I had to travel with business. And then that's when we started. I was forced to fly. And then I realized, it's not that scary. We can do this. And so Gentry was kind of nervous to get on the plane too. And I'm like, "Gentry, the only way we get over our fears is by just doing it." I'm like, "Remember how we used to not like to travel and now we love it?" So,
no.
Agreed to get on, And I mean, we actually have a video of it. So we have a YouTube channel. And so we had recorded this whole day. So if you watch the video, we're nervous, but it was like a fun nervous. It wasn't like we were, I think we were
having a good time, but we were nervous, but it's like we still kind of wanted to do it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So anyway, we get on the plane, and this is a 6-passenger single engine plane. and it was Gentry and Shad in the front 2 seats, and then Jaslyn, his wife, and me in the middle seats, and then my twin boys, Brock and Boston, in the back seat. And we took off, and everything was great, and we were having so much fun. We're recording videos from us in the plane, and then we go.
Your son and you were doing your Instagram posts at that time.
Yeah. So I was updating on Instagram. Yeah. And the not funny kind of thing that I had done before is I had taken a poll. I'm like, who thinks I should go on this plane ride?
Not.
Yes. And so people had voted, like 75% voted yes. And so I got on right before, and I am like, well, 75% of you don't care if I die. And I was joking, obviously, but anyways, to go back on that, I was like, oh.
Oh my gosh, that is crazy that you even said that. Did a part of you like have a weird feeling, or you literally had no idea? You guys were just excited to go have fun.
Yeah, I literally had no idea. And a lot of times when you're going to do something, you'll get a gut feeling like, don't go, don't do that. I never felt that.
I never felt that, and the boys never felt that.
Yeah, we were all like, I mean, we were nervous, but just getting on a plane we're nervous about everything.
Right.
And so it was nothing different than our normal nerves. So we came over the Uinta Mountains, and just as we were coming up to Moon Lake, Shad was fiddling with something, and he's like, you guys, I lost power. And so Gentry's actually recording at this point. And so you hear Jaslyn, and she leans up and slaps Shad on the shoulder. She's like, Shad, stop that. And he's like, I'm not joking. I'm going to have to land. And so there is like 8, I think they figured it was 8 miles that we had to clear with no power to get over the lake and then onto the side. So anyway, as we're going, Gentry actually recorded all the way up to the crash, and then his phone flew out of his hands, and my son caught it. So we have literally.
Oh my gosh! Can I leave that in the podcast notes?
Yeah, for sure.
People want to watch it. What was going through your mind when he's like, "We don't have any power"?
So the crazy thing is he was so calm, and you can hear the calmness in the plane, almost eerily calm. Like I'm the type that I scream if I try to scare someone. Like I'm the one screaming. Yeah. So that's not like it's not. That's not like any of us to be so calm. But Shad was so calm, keeping everything together. So I guess in my mind I thought we were just landing, and so Gentry, what were you thinking? You're still recording.
I don't know. First of all, I don't know why I was recording. So anybody that ever watches the YouTube video, just know that I agree with you. I shouldn't have been recording.
Heck no, I would have recorded it. I would have been like, this is crazy. We have no power. We're in the air. Like I would want to record it. I don't think it's crazy.
Oh, it was a situation where we were with Shad, and it was like, and maybe because we just thought Shad is just good at everything, and we just trust him to keep us safe. We weren't as nervous as we probably would have been if we wouldn't have known the pilot, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Knowing him and having that comfort was a big deal. But yeah, it was eerily calm. I mean, we were like, hey, relax. And Shad's letting us know like, hey, it's going to be hard. And once he said that, then
we crashed. That was the impact. So, one thing that was interesting before this, and maybe is Shad was looking, he's like, there's not a lot of options where to land because we're out of power. So the people on land said that they couldn't even hear the plane coming. And you couldn't tell, but on the video, you can see the propeller stopping, but like your naked eye didn't really notice that, I guess.
Right.
So anyway, but Shad said, I just heard this voice that said, don't land on the sand or you'll flip and kill the boys. And that was my 2 boys in back. And so he's like, okay. So he found an area just above the sand, and that's where we landed. It was a little bit on an angle, the ground. And so therefore that made it so Gentry's side, the engine came in on his side. And that's why Gentry suffered the most injuries. He had, so his face, his teeth, he had a traumatic brain injury. He broke his femur in 2 spots. He had broken ribs, tibia, fibula, basically everything but his arms, I swear, broke.
Oh my gosh, Gentry.
I know.
Were you knocked out at that point? Like, were you conscious?
I don't know anything that happened once until I woke up like a few days after in the hospital. And I was super confused of what was even going on.
Yeah.
So I don't remember anything. Like once we hit, that's when I was out.
So the plane automatically, the doors open on impact. And so I guess I was knocked out. And then when I came to, I was just trying to climb over the seats to get to Gentry. And Jaslyn goes, "Betsy, can't you go out the door?" And that's the part that I remember. And so I got out the door, my boys got out the door, and then they handed me the phone. They had tried calling 911, but there was no service. And so,
my gosh, were the boys okay?
Yeah, the boys are okay. We're in the middle of nowhere. So everything that happened after this, you'll understand, like, it's literally a miracle. So I went around the side of the plane, and
oh my gosh,
Jeffrey was hanging out upside down, and he wasn't conscious. And I tried feeling for a pulse, and I couldn't feel anything. I'm just screaming. And I see people coming, and I screamed. I'm like, "I think he's dead." I wanted him to hurry and help me. So I got to him, and the weirdest thoughts go through your mind. Like, I don't know what I was thinking, to be honest with you, but I do remember the Nutty Putty Cave movie that went through my mind, and he was upside down, and that's how he died. And so I was just trying to lift him up so that he wasn't upside down.
Yeah.
And when I started lifting him up is when he started gurgling. And so then I'm just yelling at him to breathe, and his legs were stuck because the engine had come in on his legs. And Shad couldn't get out of the plane either because he had suffered a spinal cord injury. Both of them actually had the same, it's the T12 is where the spinal cord injury is. And so Shad couldn't get out because his legs he couldn't feel his legs. And then Gentry couldn't get out because his legs were stuck. And my biggest fear, I just thought the plane's going to start on fire. So I'm just screaming, "I don't care what you have to do, get him out, And so these people are trying to help get him out. And a guy came up to me, and I asked him to help me hold Gentry because it was just so heavy. I couldn't hold him anymore. And so he held Gentry, and then I ran around trying to grab him and grab his legs. And to be honest with you, I couldn't see. So my vision was like half there. And this is the weirdest thing. And I guess it was part of the concussion. Like somebody there tried to hand me my purse, and I looked at the purse, and I'm like, it was one of those things. I'm like, how do I put this on? Like, how do I, like normally
your brain was jumbled.
Yeah. It's like, I couldn't even figure out how to put a purse over, but, I think I was talking normal to everybody. So nobody even realized that I was in the plane crash until at the end. And, so my boys and Jaslyn had broken her arm. We're on one side, and I was with Gentry and trying to get him out on the other side. They were finally able to get him out. And this is, I mean, the miracle part is we're in the middle of nowhere. And there happened to be some campers and an EMT who was late checking out of his campground, and he came over. And so,
oh my gosh, what a miracle.
I know. And not only that, but the nearest ambulance is an hour and a half away. And somebody went immediately to a lodge. They were able to call 911 for a life flight. And there were 3 ambulances that were up there doing a training. And so that was another miracle that that they even had these ambulances. So the ambulances get there, and because of the femur breaks, Gentry was internally bleeding so much. And he had his Apple Watch on, so we could watch his heart rate and we could watch his breathing. But the ambulance got there, and they were able to check his blood pressure. And the EMT was able to see that his blood pressure was going down, his heart rate's going up. And pretty soon that's when everything starts shutting down, and that's when you die. And so he had asked the people with the ambulance, if they had an IV, and no one there was certified to do an IV. And luckily, again, he was there. And so he was able to give Gentry the IV so that by the time that Gentry was able to live, until Lifelike got there. And Josh, one of the guys who was there helping and holding Gentry, he said, I actually just met with him yesterday. And he said, you can actually feel when a person's like dying. And he said, I can feel him going. And he's like, I didn't want to tell you that because I knew you couldn't handle it.
Oh my gosh.
And, but I knew what was happening, you know? And so when the Lifelike got there and took him away, to be honest, I didn't know if I'd see him again. And I think that's what's so scary now. Like, I could tell the story, I swear, without crying 3 months ago. And now it's like, I feel like it's far enough away that it feels a little bit scarier now.
Yeah. Almost like it hit you, like how close he was to dying.
Yeah. And I think too, I was so worried about the recovery and each next step. And it's like the more normal he gets, the more scared I get of what had happened. Or, you know, I don't know if that even makes any sense. Anyway, he ended up being in the hospital. They told us it would be about 6 to 8 weeks. And he ended up getting out after about a month. So let me backtrack to when he woke up. When you woke up, why don't you tell when you woke up in the hospital and just your thoughts? And
oh yeah. Well, when I woke up a few days later in the hospital, I didn't know where I was. It just felt dark because I couldn't see very good. And it was one of those moments where you're just scared because you don't know and you're in so much pain. And at that point I was like, am I going to die? It's just what I thought.
Yeah.
I just remember thinking, I just had this thought. I was just like, I'm just going to pray and pray as hard as I can. And once I did that, it was crazy how things shifted for me inside. Like I felt other people and their prayers almost as if it came into my chest. It sounds crazy saying that out loud.
It doesn't sound crazy at all. It doesn't. I love it.
But it was just one of those moments that you had that you're like, somebody's watching out for me. And I'm not a super spiritual person, but it was like, that's forever changed me, that feeling I had that day. So
for sure. I bet you had a ton of angels and ancestors in that room helping you and looking over you. And
that's like funny to say that because I remember feeling somebody next to me. I don't know who it was and I couldn't really see him, but there was somebody there. And I don't know if it was a nurse or who knows who it was. I still don't know to this day, but it was nice knowing that somebody was there. So.
Oh, yeah. For sure. I'm a big believer that our ancestors are like our biggest guardian angels. And I've had some experiences with that. And so I bet it was, you know, I mean, who knows, but I feel like your ancestors and your angels are always watching over you. That's so amazing. So did you have any like experiences when you were out, or was it just all black and you woke up and you're like, what happened?
More, I just woke up and I just didn't even know where I was.
Right.
And let Betsy in, so I couldn't see her.
Yeah, so he was confused because he didn't even know when he first woke up. He didn't know he was in a plane crash. He didn't know any of that. So they were able to FaceTime him so that I could explain the story to him.
Wait, why wouldn't they let you in? Because of COVID?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It was traumatic. Is that?
It was, because it was like I needed to see him just to know for my own self that he was okay.
Yeah.
So anyways, so he was in the hospital for 3 weeks and 4 weeks, and they decided to send him home because there wasn't any more rehab that he could really do, because there was no more rehab to do when you can't use your legs. So he couldn't put any pressure on his legs because of the breaks for 3 months. And so so we had to wait to do anything, any walking or any rehab or any, physical therapy. That's the word I'm looking for. And he ended up just literally using his arms. I mean, for everything that's where our life changed. I mean, I changed everything from rugs to straws, like everything. You don't realize the things that you can't do, because he also had broken his C1 spine, so he had to wear a neck brace. Because if anything happened to that, that's like your whole body paralyzed, right? So like even to how he can eat and the medications, it was just, I became a full-time nurse when he came home.
Gosh.
And I don't know how to do that kind of stuff.
But what's even like, I'm forever grateful for Betsy, because it's different when you're the person is hurt. But it's also different for the person that's taking care of them. Like,
yeah,
you don't know this, but Betsy broke 6 ribs. She had a herniated disc. Like she was
my God.
hurting.
I didn't know that, Betsy. You never talk about that.
She never does. She never does, because that's just who she is. But her like having to like lift me with broken ribs and wash me and she did everything.
No, you know what? But you realize like how much you want to do all those things when you think that you're going to lose them.
Yeah.
And like, I was like, I would give anything. Like I will do whatever it takes to get you home. So it was hard, like just work. I mean, I didn't go to work for 2 months, and was it 3 months before you were able to even go in the wheelchair? Maybe 4 months before he was able to go back to work too.
Was that so hard too? Cause I feel like you were super active before, and then to be like, not be able to move your legs for 3 months. How did you not go crazy?
You know what? I actually am the type of person that loves to just lay down and relax. So I told Betsy, I'm like, this is the best thing that's ever happened.
He's lying. He's lying.
I'm kidding. Betsy's more of the person that's super active, but it is hard because you're just used to doing something that you've always done. In fact, I thought I know this is dumb, but I thought I was going to be walking in November and, without a crutch or cane. And so that process has been a little bit slow, but
also a miracle. I mean, he has a spinal cord injury, and the fact that he's walking at all, canes or walker, just the fact that he's able to get on his own 2 feet is a huge deal.
Yeah.
Wow. So do you feel like it strengthened your marriage? Was it harder on your marriage, or did it strengthen your marriage?
I would say it strengthened our marriage, because it's like when you almost lose somebody, then you don't care what you have to do for them, because you're just so glad that they're there.
Right.
I would say it's strengthened our whole family. I mean, just the conversations we have now versus before, it's just different because we know how fragile things are.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's one of those things where you're grateful that you went through it and are going through it, because you see all the positive things that are coming from it.
I know it sounds so crazy to say that you'd be grateful for something so terrible. Like, it's so terrible. I never want to go back in. It scares me. But I also, like, my twin boys, they're 16, and they, like, it changed them. Like, they were good kids before.
Right.
But the way that they took care of me, while Gentry's in the hospital, I would be maybe on a phone call. And if I started crying, it's like they didn't leave my side. They ran up to me and they'd start rubbing my back. They were so helpful. They drove me everywhere because I couldn't see, and like my vision was off. And so I didn't dare drive for 6 weeks. So they drove me everywhere. And then they had to drive Gentry to the doctor's appointments and would wait out in the car while Gentry and I would go into the doctor for hours. And they were just such sweet boys to do that. And I remember one day after dinner, I looked at Brock and I'm like, Brock, I want to tell you how much I appreciate it. I'm like, you are starting to notice things like when I need help. And he goes, Mom, I've always noticed. He's like, but I figure you could use the extra help now.
Aww.
Like, it was just cute because like normally kids will let you clean up dinner or whatever, but
Right.
it's like they saw the need and then they jumped up to help.
Yeah. So how do you, is that how you, because I always wonder, like, how do you not become bitter? Like, how did you, was there ever a time where you felt like you had hit rock bottom or it was just too hard and you were like, why did this happen? Like, did you ever question that?
So I always, and I don't know, I almost feel like this was like a little bit of a blessing to us, is I never felt like this wasn't supposed to happen to us. It's the weirdest thing to say that, but so it's like I knew there was something I needed to learn, but I'm like, what is it that I need to learn? Let me learn it faster so I can move on, you know? And
right.
I mean, even last weekend when I had to go grab stuff at the store and Gentry drove with me and he would just wait out in the car because it's so hard for him to get in and out of the car and just to walk. So I would run in and I'm like, I miss those days. I'm like, you know, I want to go back to our old life because I loved it. But at the same time too, I also don't want to just dwell on that and rather like, cause it does us no good. And I said, I mean, rather than thinking like, oh, why doesn't it go back to what it was? It's just like, okay, what's our next step? Like, how can we improve next? What's our next move? Right.
Wow. So what do you feel was, I guess I'll ask you guys individually, what do you feel was your greatest lesson through this trial?
So many. Number one, I think, is patience. I had to learn, like anytime you have a trial, I feel like you have to learn to like humble yourself a little bit and realize that you can't do everything. I remember before the plane crash, taking meals to people drove me crazy because I was like, I hate cooking for myself, let alone someone else who's going to judge my cooking. And there's like pizza down the street and Chick-fil-A. Like, why can't they just like, you know, you're having a baby for 9 months. Why don't we prep for this? Why do I have to bring dinner? It stresses me out, you know? And
that sounds like a 3.
I don't even know.
After you're hilarious. Okay, keep going.
So anyways, it was frustrating to me. And then all of a sudden this happens to us and I would be at the doctor or the hospital all day and I would come home and people had brought meals and I couldn't believe how much it meant to me. And it wasn't just the food. It was literally like the fact that they had taken time out of their day to plan something and make something for us and drop it off. And then like I always find myself eating my words. And this is one of them. But it just like, I guess my lesson is just like to learn how much you can't do everything yourself and you depend on other people. And like, that's what life's about. I mean, I was getting to the point where I was like, we can do this. Like, I'll take care of us. You take care of you. It's fine. You know, and really like life's about like helping each other out and building each other up. And I learned that so much with my neighbors and my friends. And don't you think like I couldn't believe how much people helped. So I'm like, okay, when Gentry's better, I'm taking meals. I'm going to be the first one to volunteer. I'm going to go help, you know. I wanted to change what I do and even down to like work. It made me change the hours I worked, what I did at work, and down like we decided that's when we started we donate now to Make-A-Wish. And I'm like, I just want to be a company that does good. You know, I want, if we have extra money, I want to be able to donate it to a charity that I care about. And then, you know, people were sending meals and cookies and I'm like, I want Beddy's to have something to send. And then that's when I decided we created a blanket and it's a hug for you. Cause I'm like, there's times when you're out of state or you can't be there with that person. And I'm like, I love our blankets. Our blankets literally are the best. I know that sounds like an advertisement, but they really are. And I'm like,
I believe it. I love all of your Beddy stuff.
But this time we're going to put a heart on it. And then the packaging is like, it's called a hug for you. And it's like, when I can't be there, just know that I'm giving you a hug every time you wrap up in the blanket.
Oh,
and
that's cute.
It's just something that came up because when people were sending me things, I'm like, oh, that's so thoughtful. I couldn't believe how honestly how good people are. And I think that's the other lesson that I learned is people are good. You know, like a lot of times we get going in life and we get annoyed with people or whatever. But when you go through a tragedy or something really hard, you get to see the best in everybody. You get to see everyone's best.
Mm-hmm. And see how loved you are, like how many people love you and what a support system you do have.
Yeah. And it's so funny because I remember someone saying that cancer is the disease of love. And I'm like, that is the craziest thing I've ever heard. But it's true because people all come out and they want to make sure that you know how much they love you and they want to serve you. And I'm like, as awful as that is, it's true because people have that excuse and that reason to say I love you. And I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to have a tragedy. I just want to tell people how much I appreciate them and how much I love them. And I just want to, it changed my perspective on life. But what about you, Gentry?
I think we understood how important relationships were, especially when I couldn't be here. I remember there was times at the hospital because she couldn't come because of COVID. And I just remember we have cameras in our house. So I would log on to the camera system and I couldn't really see very good, but I could listen and I could hear other people at my house, like bringing meals or even like them laughing. And it was so good to hear their laughter or just know that they're being taken care of. So I'll be forever grateful for anybody that's, sent us a text or brought us dinner. It meant more than they can even imagine.
Wow. That's amazing. Do you feel like, did it change your relationship with Christ at all? Like, what was your lesson there?
100%. 100%. So I feel like we've always gone to church. We've always done the things we're supposed to. We're complete rule followers. So we do what we're supposed to do. But this,
but we'd go, I felt like I would just go through the motions.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not till you're taken down to your lowest low and scared and helpless that takes you to that point where you're not in control. It doesn't matter how good the doctors are. It doesn't matter how many people are helping. At the end of the day, it's what God wants you to do and what he wants your life to be. So I did, my prayers became so much more genuine. My scripture study has stayed so much more consistent. And I just have a different feeling. I don't know how else to explain it.
Like maybe a stronger connection.
Yeah. And I think it makes me listen to promptings or listen to other people a little bit more.
Betsy said from the time that we came home and we sat down as a family, she's like, we need to start acting on every good thought. So whatever that good thought is, she asks us to act on it.
Well, I feel like every good thought comes from God, right? If you think of telling someone that they look nice or how much fun you had with them, just those little things, act on every good thought, do that, share that, tell them, I think that's kind of our
motto now.
Yeah.
I love that. I've never gone through a trial as big as that, but I do know when I have my darkest, hardest times in life is when I feel like Christ is my best friend. I'm like, wow, he's in every single detail of my life. He is here with me. And I think that's such a cool feeling. And it's almost sad that we have to go through something so hard where we feel that, but that's the blessing, right? Is what you guys are saying is that you become so close, and you can hear those promptings, and you're able to serve others, and your whole perspective on life has changed. And like, what a blessing that is. And it's so amazing to follow you guys and to see your positivity. Like I'm just floored. Like, you're so inspiring every time you post like a quote or just your thoughts. It's always like, man, if they can feel that way after everything that they've had to go through in their trials, is very inspiring for me. Like, my life is going fine and I'm complaining. You know what I mean? Like, it just helps you to put life back into perspective. So I know that you guys are helping others with your story as well.
Well, you're nice to say that, but I think everyone has their heart, and like, what's hard for me is probably not hard for somebody else. And what's hard for somebody else, like, it's everyone has their hard. And so, but I will say this did me.
I'm pretty sure yours is pretty hard. So no. So I'm wondering, if you had to give advice to someone who's going through a really hard trial and they feel like they're drowning in it, like, what would you say to them?
Focus on what you can change. Focus on what you can do, not on what you can't. Because if we sat and thought about, he can't run, he can't jump, he can barely walk, like, I think we'd be so depressed. But really, we focus on, okay, let's try this. Okay, if we get this massage roller, that'll help your legs. Like, we're focused on what we can fix and what we can change and what we can improve on. Mm-hmm. That's where our focus is. So it really is like just changing your focus. And I think that's a little bit in my personalities. I'm like, okay, this happened. Let's fix it. Okay, what do we do? How do we get there? And I want to do it fast. Yeah. So that's also a lesson for me that, like, recovering from a spinal cord injury, you cannot do fast. Gentry will joke that I tried to take away like his wheelchair too fast, or
neck brace.
Pushing it too hard because I'm not.
No, but a little push is good for you.
Betsy, you are definitely a 3. You need to go read Enneagram number 3, and that is you.
Now I'm curious.
Yeah, listening to you talk. So I love that. Focus on what you can do instead of what you can't. I love that. What about you, Gentry? What advice would you give?
I would just say lean on positive people around you, because I think that's been huge for me, just because I have such an awesome support system that they're always encouraging me. And if you're around Betsy, you just know that she's just fun to be around, and she can motivate you. And I would just say lean on positive people for sure.
Well, I think there is a part too that, like, we saw how many miracles happen, from the campers who were EMTs to ambulances that were there doing a training, to the doctors that were in the hospital on call, like, so many things, one after another. We just know, like, we feel so blessed. And when you've been so blessed, like, how do you complain? I think that's another point where, like, we cannot complain, because there were 7 plane crashes right around ours, and we were the only survivors. So that in it of itself is, you can't complain, because we were the ones that were given that chance, that second chance, and other people weren't. So we can't ruin our second chance, right?
I love that. What a cool outlook. And I have to ask Betsy, so she did all of this. She has this amazing business called Beddy's, and do you want to kind of explain what Beddy's is?
It's the most random thing, and it's so hard to explain.
I don't know how you even thought of it. Like, it was genius. I was like, why has nobody thought of this before? This is so smart.
That's so funny. Well, I have twins, and they had bunk beds, and I love to start with a made bed in the morning. And I was getting so frustrated. I'm like, you guys, it is not that hard to make your bed. And I get up there to show him and prove my point. And I'm like, holy crap. Why is nobody complaining about bunk beds? Like, they are terrible. So I was a hairdresser at the time, and I would just tell my clients, and I'm like, what do you guys do? And everyone's like, oh, we just don't make them, or we got rid of them. And so I'm like, are you kidding me? So I Googled like how to make a bunk bed. Cause I'm like, oh my gosh, Pinterest has got to have a hack, or bunk bed bedding. I'm like, there's nothing. And so I was so frustrated. And one Saturday, I just went over to my mom's house and I'd taken their quilts and I bought the longest zippers I could find at Hobby Lobby and some elastic. And I'm like, Mom, here's what I want to do. My mom's a really good seamstress. And so she helped me make my first prototype. And it was literally just for me to be sane and have a made bed for my kids. And I started showing my clients and telling them, and they're like, Betsy, this is a genius idea. You should patent it. I'm like, really? So I thought like, oh, this will be a fun hobby. So my friend Angie that I'd go running with every morning, I would always complain to her. And in fact, she had actually gotten rid of her bunk beds because she thought it was a pain. And so she's like, all right, sure, I'll do it. So we started out just thinking it was just going to be a hobby, and learned quickly that just with the minimum order quantities and stuff, that it was either go big or go home. And we'd already worked on getting the patent, which was like, I swear, I think it was like $30,000. And so once you're in that much, you have to just keep going. And then our first order was $250,000. And we did a Kickstarter to help fund that. And it just started from there. And it was just a genuine need of mine. And then it turned out that other people needed it too. So that's
probably why it's so successful, is because you're a mom and you're like, this was a need that I filled. And every other mom's like, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
I have him on my bunk bed and for my kids, and there is no way they would ever be able to make their bed without him. Like, it's genius. I will link her Beddy's website to this podcast so you guys can see, because I'm just like, I think that you are the biggest boss. I love following you because I'm like, how does she do it all? First, I thought, how does she do it all before the crash? Now I'm watching you hold it all together after the crash with your business and expand. And I'm like, how do you do it all?
So here's the truth. You cannot do it all. Like, and if anyone says they do, they're lying. But I will say I hired some great employees, and I never dared to leave the business, actually. And so many people are like, Betsy, you need to work on the business, not in the business, and I'm like, this is my baby, back off, Right. And in the crash, I couldn't go back to work for 2 months. And I quickly learned how good my employees were. My business thrived while I was gone. And another miracle really is that Gentry, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, before the crash, trained his guy how to do everything he does. So nobody at work knew how to do what Gentry did. And
wow, that's a miracle. He just randomly was like, let me train you how to do what I do.
Yes. So he learned Monday through Thursday, and Friday was in a plane crash. Like,
wow, that's a tender mercy for sure.
Yeah. So there's that. Anyways, so you find the good people and treat them well. They treat me so well. I think it's just this, it's funny because it's like my employees are so good, such good employees. Like I literally love them. They're like family to me, all of them. And the more they like with the crash, I was like, I bought them all these necklaces for my friend. They had moonstone, and moonstone's supposed to be good luck. So I was like, I wanted all you guys to, because they just took care of me while I was out and took care of the business. And that's my baby, Mm-hmm. And I feel like the more I tried to treat them better, then they would all of a sudden do more for me. I'm like, you guys, no, I was trying to catch up with you. So it's just like we have a really good culture at work.
Right. That's important. That is so important. Well, I'm so grateful for your time. Thank you so much. It's just so inspiring to hear people's stories, and especially yours, and how your positive outlook and all the wisdom that you have to share. So thank you. And thank you for being on here, Gentry, too. I really appreciate your time.
Oh, thanks, Bree.
Thank you.
So much fun.
Yeah, thanks for having us. So,
all right, I will talk to you guys later. And if you want her Betsy or her Beddy's, Betsy's Beddy's, I'll link everything, and I'm going to also link your video of your YouTube. So if people want to watch it, I'll link that as well.
Perfect.
All right. Thank you so much. You guys have such a great day.
Thanks. You too.
See you later. Bye. Thank you for joining us in today's episode. If you liked the content and want to hear more, remember to hit that subscribe button and write a review. As a small business owner, I appreciate it more than you know. If you are looking for a program to help with self-confidence, to lose weight, get in shape, and work on your mental, physical, and emotional health, check out my training programs on www.bodybybree.com. My team and I help to hold you accountable through the Body by Bree app, where you log in to see all your workouts, custom meal plan made specifically for you and your needs, and communication through the messenger. You are never alone when you're on the Body by Bree training program. Click the link in the show notes to get more information on how to transform your life from the inside out.